because right now the phone lines are lit up. Folks want to talk about their most memorable NCAA tournament moment. Let's start with Scott in Silver Spring. What up, Scotty?
Hey, fellas, what's happening?
I'm good, bro. How you doing?
I'm good. It's two, actually, but it's both because I felt so bad for the guys. The first was Freddie Brown from Georgetown, and I think it was 82 or 83 when he passed the ball right to James Worthy.
We were just talking about that.
Okay, and I'm sorry. And
that was in the break, though.
No, it was in the break. I'm just saying that memory there, yeah.
And then Weber, when he called timeout, man, I felt bad because, tough, man. Tough when you play sports and something like that happens. And
yeah, totally.
Yeah, man.
Understand.
Good call, man.
You get to that moment and you want to be remembered, but not for making the wrong play.
Well, dude, that whole Fab Five, the 2 years of that Fab Five, because Weber went pro after his sophomore season. That was electric, man. Back then, there wasn't social media. There wasn't a ton of – there was Sports Center, so you got to see the highlights. But, like, when that Michigan team was on,
them long shorts.
Dude, they had long shorts.
Way down past their knees.
Played so fast and up-tempo.
Yes.
They've done the 30 for 30 on it, which is really good. They changed – there are, like, rare inception points in life that changed the world.
Yeah.
That was one of them.
Oh, definitely.
Dude, I put on, so my undershirt here is the Under Armour like dry fit stuff, right? And now everybody's got dry fit.
Yeah.
But when Under Armour first came out with these shirts, they changed the world.
Oh, yeah.
Because when's the last time you put on just a straight old-fashioned cotton polo?
Don't.
Never. Nobody does.
Nah.
Cotton people might be mad. I'm sure cotton's getting sold in some other capacity. Jason is in Bethesda. Jay.
What up, Jay?
What do you remember most?
Yeah, what's up, guys? So definitely for me, my favorite March Madness memory, I was lucky enough to be in the building in 2006 when George Mason beat UConn to go to the Final Four. Just a great game, a highly played game by both teams. Even though it's a huge upset, UConn actually played pretty well. George Mason just shot from three incredible. I think, in my opinion, that's the greatest sporting event in the history of the Capital One Arena, which is almost 30 years old now.
Hold on, dog.
I think that's the best memory. No, I'm saying in the arena.
Oh, because they won it in
Vegas. But in the arena. Although I was on the road, I'm saying in the arena. And I was going to say, if Ovechkin passes Gretzky at home, then I think you could put that above George Mason, UConn. But if you just look at the history of the arena, I mean, what home game involving the Wizards or Georgetown or even the Caps is as good as George Mason, UConn for the Final Four?
It's a good question, and I'll confess to not knowing this. Where did the Mystics win their title?
I don't know.
That would be an interesting one. I mean, the Caps was on the road. The All-Star game that was at Capital One Arena when it was then called, I think, Verizon Center.
Yeah.
It might have been called MCI Center back then. That was an
All-Star
awesome
game.
But that was an awesome game. You remember that when Vince Carter and Allen Iverson brought him back? They were down like 25.
Yeah.
You might be right, dude. That's a very
that's a good one.
That's a good one. If somebody could think of a better,
I don't know what year it was. I mentioned this in the break too. Anybody remember when Georgetown was in the NCAAs and they opened up the game and every shot, I think it was against University of Houston, Pat Ewing was blocking everything that somebody put up, and they called goaltending several times on him. I can't remember the game though or what year it was. I mean, I don't. I think it's Houston. I don't know if it's for sure, but if anybody know it, when you call in, let us know.
We need a Georgetown guy because they exist. Like, I need somebody that's a Georgetown guy because in Ewing's 3 years, they went to three, or maybe Ewing was there 4 years. I think they went to 3 Final Fours and 2 natties that they lost. So who did they beat? Because they lost to Villanova, right? When nobody thought Nova should be there. And then they definitely lost to Carolina when the one kid threw the pass to the wrong guy and MJ knocked down the shot. So you must be thinking of the one title game they won, which I think was against Houston, but I don't know.
That must be it then.
I think UVA was really good back then. Like Ralph Sampson was 7'5". There's a lot going on.
He's still that.
Yeah, that's true. Mike is in D.C. What's up, Mike? What's the memory for you?
Oh, for me, I grew up in southern Ohio, which is in the shadows of University of Kentucky.
Okay.
I'm an old guy. I remember when Adolph Rupp would not have any black ball players, and they wore all white uniforms. And they lost to an all-black team, Texas. I believe it was called Texas El Paso at the time. That, for me, was the greatest memory.
That's pretty cool. That game was at Cole Fieldhouse, I believe, in Maryland. I mean, you talk about inception point. Thank you for the call, sir. You talk about inception points and life changing.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I bet old Adolph Rupp started adjusting his recruiting policies.
Yeah. Just like old Bear Bryant did in Alabama.
Yo, I don't want to call it a trend, but dudes named Adolph, a little suspect, man. I can't imagine there's many kids with getting that name anymore.
I know one brother named Adolph. I'm like, dude, what's with your
wait,
mama
you know
thinking?
a black dude named
Yes,
Adolph? Wow.
yes. One of Kelvin Bryant's buddies.
Deb from the chat. All right, Deb always watches on the YouTube.
That was
stream
1984.
when Georgetown won it.
Yeah.
Who'd they beat? Houston?
They're
Phi Slamma Jamma?
not opening up.
All right, let's get Deb from the chat on. Hello, Deb. What's the one you remember
Hi,
most?
guys.
How are you?
I'm good. This is going to date me a little bit, but my most memorable moment was watching Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. I asked my parents if I could stay up past my bedtime because I was in middle school. My mom said, I don't think so. And my dad said, absolutely you can.
That's great.
And I've been hooked on the NCAA tournament ever since.
That was 79, right?
I think that's what it was.
I believe it was. Well, thanks for calling, Deb. Great to hear from you.
All right, good.
You weren't born, huh, Jay?
I was not born. My sister was, although she was born in April. So
I was 11.
Dog, think about what a gangster Larry Bird is. You know, Bobby Knight recruited him, and the way I understand it, maybe I'm inaccurate here, but I believe I'm not. So Larry Bird went to Indiana for like a week. Like he was going to Indiana, and Bobby Knight was Bobby Knight, and callous, I think is a fair way to term him. And I think Larry said, bleep you, dog, and went to Indiana State, which was like a little nothing burger, and took him to the finals. Imagine what nowadays, I heard a buddy of mine, like a kid I know, 7th grade kid, was going to change his basketball team because he needed more pieces around him. Dog, you're 13. Be the piece. But
not even 13. Yeah.
I hate LeBron, and not that there weren't super teams before. I'm not trying to get into a debate, but when LeBron talked about needing pieces around him, I hate that mindset. Like, you know who didn't talk about that at all? Jaden Daniels. Yeah. When he's throwing a Diami and OZ, right?
MJ.
And so think about what Larry Bird's pieces were at Indiana State, and they got to a final.
Know what the piece was? Him.
Larry
said, you know what? Hey, we're going to win this thing. Man, how? We don't have enough pieces. You got me, damn it. That's all that matters.
Let's go to Zach down in North Carolina listening on the Odyssey app. What's up, Zach?
What's up, guys? My favorite moment is I actually worked for High Point University, and I worked for the basketball team, and I got to be front hand on the bench yesterday, which was really cool.
That's cool, man. Good for you. Congrats to High Point.
They had a good year, though, brother. They had a good year.
Was that their first ever tourney?
I appreciate it. It was our first ever tourney.
Very cool,
good
man.
stuff,
Very
man.
cool. Congratulations.
Good stuff. All right.
That college is gorgeous, by the way.
They got a lot of money in High Point, though.
I mean, that old furniture money, baby.
Furniture money, baby.
Dude, so yesterday I had the pleasure of meeting a woman, Rashana Hamilton. Rashana was on the panel with us, and she's a VP over with the Spirit. And she told us that she played basketball at George Mason.
Uh-huh.
And I want to shout out the Patriots. The ladies team at George Mason has their first ever tournament this year. I think they play tomorrow.
Good stuff.
I love that kind of stuff.
Good stuff.
All right, let's keep these phones going. Crank, my guy.
Crank, what's up, bro?
Crank in DC, what's up?
Fellas, what's up, fellas? Hey, look, my number one moment got to be when Randolph Sills just hit my man Jeff McGinnis with a smooth crossover. Dropped him, waved to him, come in, hit the jump shot, and had Dean Smith on the sideline livid. I'm talking about Dean Smith was losing his mind, talking about he's taunting. Man, I will never forget that crossover.
Yeah,
Crossover too.
Yo,
that was truly gangster.
That was truly gangster. I believe Childress is a local guy. Yeah, he went to Flint Hill. He was born in the city.
That's gangster right there.
do though. Crank, you still there? Or you gone? All right, Crank is gone. I don't want to burst Crank's bubble, and we'll have to go to the videotape to confirm this. I think that was an ACC tournament game and not an NCAA tournament game.
It's NCAA.
I think that's when Wake won an ACC title.
That was gangster, bro.
Somebody confirm or deny that. You can tweet me, or I'm sure White Brian will look it up. But that was vicious.
Yes.
Let's go to. I don't want to go to line 5. You got to call for line 5 because I can't call for that. I'm going to have a very hard time with this call.
All right, let's go line 5. AP and Fort Meade.
Hey, what's going on, BMitch?
What up, man?
AP, I don't like this call. I want to be clear about this.
Why is that, JP?
Go ahead.
What I do?
Go ahead.
All right, so I'm a diehard Maryland Terp fan. It broke my heart when.
So why would you call in with this joint?
Because the very next year we won
the
to the finals and we beat Indiana.
All right, tell everybody what happened in 01.
So yeah, we lost to Duke. We were up big, man. We were up big, and we let them come back and beat us. And I was in middle school then, and my stepdad at the time, he was just throwing it in my face, and I'm like, "Ain't you a Maryland fan?" Like, I'm a teenager. I never wanted to fight somebody so much in my life because that's how bad it hurt me to lose to Duke. Because who wants to lose to Duke, especially if you're a Maryland fan? But
they were up. They were up 20.
We were up big.
Yeah.
Yes. And just to lose in that fashion, it broke
now let's
my
be
heart,
clear:
but
we got completely hosed by the refs in that game. Carlos Boozer, they called a charge on Lonnie. They called a charge on Lonnie Baxter, who I love. Lonnie, he is a great dude. Go buy a car from him. Follow him on Instagram. Lonnie is one of the best dudes in the world. They called a charge that was so obviously a block. And I'm still pissed about it. And I did riot that night, just so everybody's aware. I was a sophomore in college.
Hey, and before I go, just looking back at that roster we had, Drew Nicholas, Juan Dixon, Steve Blake, Chris Wilcox, who I think prematurely went to the NBA. I thought he should have probably stuck around.
Who's my guy that transferred to Notre Dame? He's I think he's a Long Island guy, the white dude. How am I blanking his name? I know him well.
Kaner Manley? Manley?
Who was the white dude on the 01 team that transferred to Notre Dame? He was a McDonald's All-American. Danny.
I don't know.
All right, we'll find that out. Danny Miller, maybe. Maybe Danny Miller. All right, AP.
Yeah, I think it was Miller. Yeah.
I think it was Danny Miller. So Danny transferred out, and then Mouton transferred in the next year. They win a ring.
Yeah, Mouton. He was key in that run.
AP, I'm a fan of yours. You've called before. I appreciate you. I do not appreciate this phone call. I just want you to know that.
Hey, I appreciate that.
He was telling you good. He's a Maryland fan. It was just how they worded it. They wanted to get you pissed off. They knew how to piss you off.
Give Rouillet. You got a second? Danny Rouillet just walked in. We're going to give him a headset, and we're going to surprise him with this question. Danny Rouillet, of course, you can listen to him and Grant coming up at 2 o'clock. Danny Hoo-Hoo, your favorite NCAA tournament memory?
Favorite. I could go a million of these things. Princeton upsetting UCLA back in the day. We're just running 1,000 back doors. Everyone knew it was coming.
Oh, nothing but back doors.
Tyus Edney going coast to coast.
That was
wild.
That was
Missouri. Favorite is so hard to pick just because I've always loved this thing so much. It's always such a special part of my gig. It would probably be Georgetown winning it. So that's my first time I got hooked on it because I think I'm a year or two older than you.
See, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, I mean,
84.
Because they'd been so close.
But that was Houston, right?
Yeah,
so
I was Houston,
when they started the game, Pat Ewing was blocking everything.
Yeah, so even
goaltending like hell.
The message was sent.
And that was Olajuwon on that. That was Olajuwon and Drexler.
The superstars.
Slammer Jefferson.
Because it had been, I was so young before that when they lost to Georgetown with the Fred Brown play or whatever, and the bastards from Villanova. Yeah. Years later, in fact, Fred Brown coached at Episcopal. Seemed like a very nice man. a rival to St. Albans School for Boys, as you know.
Sure.
And so when during timeouts,
these are the fancy schools.
The
Catholics can't afford that stuff.
I know. During timeouts or downtimes, we would just occasionally chant. Sometimes, just out of nowhere, apropos of nothing. Were these open? Which was tough. We got a couple mean glares from Mr. Brown.
Big game, James.
Yeah, so I felt bad for Fred. But
when I was in Maryland, we chanted some stuff, but
there were some things said.
We can't say most of that on the radio.
Right.
You root for the Terps too, though, don't you?
I did.
Or your dad liked them, right?
I used to growing up, and I've got something in the chamber for today. I heard at the top of the show that you were talking about this morning.
I held back, by the way.
I'm by the way, a lot of respect. I will not, because I don't know anyone over there, and like you might have to show your face. Both my parents went there. I grew up loving Maryland. When Maryland decided years ago, you know what, we don't like us. We're going to do something different. I said, okay, well, that's not for me. I like the thing that you were. I get wanting to evolve and wanting to chase football.
It's weird. Like it. It's weird because the move to the Big Ten, in hindsight, was brilliant.
Well, financially, sure.
They were just dumb luck, right place, right time.
Sure.
But yeah, dude, B and I were talking about this earlier. Last week we did a segment. Would you rather the Terps win the Big Ten title or get to the Sweet 16? And I said the Sweet 16. And then we talked about it today with Naki. And I asked myself, what if that same question, ACC tournament? I probably say ACC tournament.
Right.
Big Ten just doesn't resonate with me,
and it can't. Now, to some kid, it might, who doesn't know any difference. But like you grew up here, that ACC mattered so much, and it was always this cool thing where Maryland was the foil because it's a Carolina league. Totally. Whether it's Duke, Carolina, NC State, or everybody else, Wake Forest, W down there in the heart of it. But that sort of Tobacco Road corridor, and then Maryland was the turd in the punch bowl. Maryland was the spoiler, and that was kind of our thing, the identity, right? So you had this inherent conflict. I realize I'm just hijacking your segment.
I'm into it.
Well, when you have this inherent conflict going, we declare ourselves a football school, and the results don't match that, and you just keep bleeping that chicken, that viral meme from years ago, you're inevitably going to have these kind of conflicts where if you've got, say, I'm just making up a number, 10 million of NIL and 8's going to the football team and 2's going to basketball where you've had your success.
And that's clearly what Willard's upset about.
You're going to have a conflict. So I'll come back to Kevin Willard in a second, but you've got this sort of inherent problem and you're fighting a marketplace with a million things to do, a transient community.
What Gary's always said.
Yeah, and an NFL team. An NFL team plays 7 minutes from the front door.
That sucks all the air out of the room.
Who are the great college programs, top of your head, competing for a national championship every year? You would instantly think of them.
Kentucky, Kansas.
I'm talking about football.
Football. Okay, sure.
Right away.
Bama,
Ohio
Georgia,
State,
Ohio
Bama,
State,
Penn State, Michigan. What do they all have in common? Little college towns, tier 3 cities that have nothing else, where the local economy is geared around it. Yeah. You can't have that here, period, end of story. It will not happen. You can't make fetch happen. There's no amount of verbiage. The casual fan is not going, you know what I should do is go around the Beltway to a Maryland game. You might get one guy one time, but you don't have that base that constantly floods the thing, make you flush with cash.
And I think one of the dumbest things they tried to do was they were like, well, we got to be like Penn State, where the whole state roots for them. Or we got to be like Tennessee.
Or the whole region in the state does,
Tennessee, all roots for the balls, right?
Right.
And so they tried to make this Maryland pride and state to state, and the flag showed up everywhere. Keep the turtle, dude.
Right.
People love the script Terps.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the good decisions they made over there is bringing back the script Terps.
Yeah, exactly. And so you're trying to make a thing that's not going to happen a thing, right? And you're determined to do it, and God bless you. Chase the money. I'm sure they're making more money now than they were in the ACC. That's fine and dandy. That's great. Well, you have this inherent conflict set up, right? So that's that first part. And you're always going to have the push and pull, the fight with the next AD. Kevin Willard, what are you doing, guy?
I think he wanted to force the issue and get Evans out. I'm not mad at Willard.
That's JP Finlay. I'm Danny Rouillet. I am. You got a game, dude.
Yeah.
There's a game. Like,
every I always point this out.
He lose this game, JP gonna want him out too.
If they yo, Ivy's here.
He gonna just move his target.
If Ivy can hear me, I've already said it to CK. If they lose today, I'm not coming to work on Monday. Period. This is how it's going down. That's just how that's going to happen.
I love that.
You're too grown for that.
Like,
they lost a damn basketball game. Bring your ass
Brian.
to work.
I am sick.
Can you imagine before your Washington 53 starts the game against Tampa Bay, the last press conference, Dan Quinn's going, we didn't really do a good job acquiring talent. Now, we didn't do a good job with our general manager.
What I always say, though, is what people always dismiss in these conversations. He got asked about it repeatedly. He's asked, like when Olamide Zaccheaus talked about Caleb Williams and comparing him to Jaden Daniels, it's because he was asked about it. He's not bringing it up on his own volition.
Sure.
I do think now.
You
Lambeau's
can
telling
answer
me
the
we have
question
to break.
without going crazy, though.
I'd be
I think
amazing
he was
at this.
forcing the issue.
My attention's on this game. We got a really tough opponent tomorrow, and we're here to play. I owe it to these kids to do that. You want to discuss rumors on your own time, that's just fine. Any questions about the game, that's fine and dandy.
That's a fine question.
Hire me for PR if you need it, K-Dubs. This is such a simple, low-hanging fruit. And he's like, you know what? They wouldn't support us on Christmas. I wanted to stay in a hotel in New York like Kevin McAllister from Home Alone. Maybe bump into a couple celebrities. You're bitching about that now?
It's a tough time for it.
There's a basketball game that's a pretty big import
today.
In less than 24 hours
today.
Dude. What on earth are you doing?
Danny Rouillet coming in hot.
Oh, I'm so pissed about it.
Oh, let's go.
It's so low. I'm sorry.
I imagine the top of the Grant and Danny program
You
might
guys
have
have
a
a
serious
show. I made it about myself.
All we asked for was your favorite NCAA memory.
And we got here. I'm like, you know what else is on my mind? Wind me up.